Welcome, everybody, to a special Coast to Coast show as we salute today a total Hollywood legend, somebody that's been on our wish list for years and years. She's got a brand new autobiography out. You Thought I Was Dead, My Life of Celebrity, Sex, and Champagne, the one and only 50s, 60s, and beyond. She's done it all, stage, screen, everything, movies, film, her own one-person show, Mamie Van Doren. The book is fantastically illustrated, each chapter uniquely illustrated by Stephen Watley, sorry on that name, but Mamie Van Doren, an American actress, singer, and author. One of the, we'll ask her what she feels like. Let me just ask her right now, when I say blonde bombshell of the 50s and 60s with fantastic films, and she worked with everybody. I was watching High School Confidential. Immediately I recognized before the graphic came up, it was Russ Tamblyn and Keenan Wynn. She's worked with everybody. In fact, she caught Frank Capra's eye, and he put her over to the moon when she played the love interest to Clark Gable. She worked with everybody. But Mamie Van Doren, we're honored to have you on the show. We appreciate you giving your time. Again, the book, You Thought I Was Dead. We would never want to think that, and we hope you live forever. We hope you live another many, many decades. But when I say blonde bombshell, is that like a term you've embraced, or is it sort of irritating or politically not correct in today's world?
Well, they don't really do that so much today, but it was very popular in the 40s and even the 30s, and it's just the way the movies were in Hollywood then. Blondes were very popular. We had Jean Harlow, Mae West, and then Marilyn came along, and I came along, and it's been that way, and I accepted it. I didn't mind it. It made me have a nice living, and guys liked it, and they liked pinups and things like that. But you had to be a good actress, and I really took that very seriously. I didn't depend on just my body and everything. So today it's a completely different world. There, we don't have the studio heads to control or help make me a star. They could make a star if I put it in the right pictures and doing the right publicity. But today it's really very difficult for women.
Well, I've got to say, before I pitch to Russ, what an incredible singer you are. But I'm glad people will be able to read what a thoughtful, funny, witty, brilliant person you are behind that image, which was a portrayal. But Frank Capra, one of the greatest directors of all time, if not the greatest, behind, we have quite a few, Hitchcock to Spielberg to Lucas to all of that, but to get what he said to others about you, that's a big deal. Your whole life has been a big deal. Born in South Dakota, I don't know how you ended up in Hollywood. People are going to have to read the book. But you work with others, Howard Hughes. Well, actually, I think Russ is good. Well, let's go to Russ. Russ, you wanted to talk to her, maybe ask some questions about Howard Hughes. But she's worked with Tony Curtis up through Quincy Jones, who we just lost. Brilliant, brilliant people in the arts.
Well, I met Quincy when I was 17. We were teenagers together, and I loved to sing. I loved the Lena Horne, and I loved the black sound. And there was a little place called Club Oasis on Western Avenue in Los Angeles, and I drove there, and Lionel Hampton's orchestra was there, and I said, I want to go listen to Lionel. He was one of my favorites. And Quincy was a trumpet player there, and I was sitting there listening. And then on their break, he came over to me and said, would you like to have dinner with me after the show? And I'm going, what? Because I had never dated a dark guy before, So I said, well, I'll think about it and let you know. He says, you've never dated they call themselves colored guys then,
Right.
And I said, no, I hadn't. But so we went out. I went with him to another place, after-hours place, and we had chicken and a whole bit, and we got to know each other. And I just thought he was the cutest and the nicest guy, and very educated. And he was doing all the arrangements for Lionel at that time, and also for Count Basie. and he ended up being the top, the big guy in Hollywood, and then I came on I came first, and then he came, and so we both made it. That's what's so great about it. We were just nobodies.
You have such a legacy. I mean, working with Jerry Lee Lewis and everybody else. Quincy Jones was the #2 guy to Henry Mancini on so much work, starting with the Peter Gunn TV show soundtracks, which are brilliant. So I want to go to Russ, and Russ, here we've got one of the greatest legends of all time, and she knows everything in and out of Hollywood, Mamie Van Doren.
Yes, I wanted to ask Mamie about the starting out in South Dakota and then going to early Hollywood. What was that transition like? How did you make that? How did you go from being in South Dakota to being a star in Hollywood?
Well, I came from a farm. We had no running water, no electricity. We had lamps. I lived like a pilgrim there. And when World War II came along, my father had, he went down and the draft, and then they said he was 1 year too old to take. So he was a mechanic, so he says, go back. You either go back to the New York side or you go to Los Angeles or San Diego, and they need people for shipyards and, for mechanics. And so he tossed a coin, and he hit Los Angeles. It was the West Coast. Everybody was afraid to go there because the Jets were they were really coming in close. So we headed for the coast, and that's how I got to Hollywood. It's because of World War II.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, of course we're talking to Mamie Van Doren, actress extraordinaire. You Thought I Was Dead. Mamie, how did you come up with the title, and why? Because everybody loves you, and from a kid growing up in the 50s and 60s, scrapping money together or whatever to get Playboy magazine so we could hear what's going on with you. But how'd you come up with the title? And we also want to thank your husband Thomas for being a great help in getting you aboard our program here.
He's been a really, really wonderful husband. We've been together 53 years now, so we get to know each other quite well. Never thought I'd find a man that we would really hit it off in that long and put up with some of my nonsense and foolishness, but he managed to do it. He has a very good sense of humor. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Well, first I want to say all three of us here at the show are animal nuts, and I love that you dedicated the book to your late German Shepherd, Lily Mae.
Golly, Lily Mae, I miss him so much. It's just really, I had her 10 years, and she was found on the street, and she had a little wolf in her. I didn't know that when I got her, and she was always quite shy, and she wasn't really like a German Shepherd, and I didn't realize that she was part wolf. So, but she loved me so much, but she got that hip disease, and she passed, and it was just, I'd never been around a dog that got sick like that. It was really awful.
Let me move to Evan Ginsberg, but I want to say, besides some of your great films Evan and I have watched many times, Untamed Youth, Girls Town, Running Wild, obviously High School Confidential, the music pioneers of rock, and you're a huge fan, jazz, blues, bebop, boogie woogie, that Evan is also an expert historian on. You work with Eddie Cochran, Paul Anka, Bill Haley and the Comets, Conway Twitty, again, Jerry Lee Lewis was in High School Confidential, as was Russ Tamlin. But Evan will appreciate the fact you went to see Lionel Hampton, Thelonious Monk. Lena Horne, I guess you stayed at the hotel in Vegas to see her continuously. Dinah Washington. Evan in New York City.
Hi.
Well, when I went to New York, I went to Birdland, and I Miles Davis, and I listened to all of the jazz artists, and I got to really know the music quite well, and I had a pretty good voice, and then I started recording, and I never became a superstar in my singing world, but I did record with Capitol. And I did their first subsidiary, Prep Records, and I did some my rock and roll songs from Warner Brothers Untamed Youth, and they did very well. So I've got a little record going.
Who were your favorite musicians? You worked with and knew everybody. Who were your favorites?
You mean as far as their talent is concerned, or as a person?
Yes.
Well, the talent, I mean, Paul Anka was, I did one of his first movies, it was a Girls Town. And he did "I'm Just a Lonely Boy." That was his one of his first hits, and he did that in the movie. And we became friends. And he wrote a couple songs for me. "Hey Mama," I did it in the shower, and it was too sexy for the movies. But it's on YouTube now, so you can see it. It's called "Hey Mama." It's really a sexy little thing. And of course Eddie Cochran. I did a movie called Untamed Youth with him. And it was shortly after that is when he went to Europe, and then he got that horrible accident. That he left us, and that was sad. But he was very, very talented. He was just starting, and he was sort of the answer to Elvis Presley. But I think he had more talent because he was able to write songs besides just singing. And he was a good little actor too. So he was an actor as well as a singer. He wrote me a song called "Oobala Baby." If you saw the movie, it's "Oobala Baby." It's really sexy. And I did it with the first jeans. I don't think anybody wore blue jeans in those days, but I had a pair of blue jeans and a tight sweater. And so. That really got tongues waggling, and Warner Brothers put it out, and it's still playing in Europe. If you go over to Europe, in places, in rock places, it's still playing there, and they play all my songs. So I'm still hanging around after 80 years. I'm going to be 96 in February 6th, is my birthday.
I've seen all kinds of ages for you online. Did you have to? And I want to throw back to Evan then. I think Judy Garland had to sort of fudge her age at different points to satisfy Louis B. Mayer. So here's a bigger question. Was the MGM studio system could be horrific, particularly to the female stars. How was Universal in contrast? Was Universal a little kinder to you and others, or difficult?
No, Universal was the one that got me my start. And the first movie I did was All American. I was a Tony Curtis. They gave me a starring role, and that was very successful. And everybody seemed to know me. And then I became the answer to Marilyn, and I knew I had to break that mold. I didn't want to do that. I knew Marilyn very, very well. I've known her since I was 12 years old. She was about 17 or 18. And we grew up in Hollywood together, and she got there first, of course, because she's older than I was. But she managed to open the door for me. And then when I got at Universal, they said I was the answer to her. Well, I had no idea that that was what they were going to write. It was UP or AP. James Bacon did a story and opened the door for me, and then everybody knew who I was, and then they put me immediately in a starring role opposite Tony Curtis. And then after that, I did a starring role opposite Jeff Chandler and Rhonda Fleming in Yankee Pasha. That was the first CinemaScope movie that was out. So Universal really was the one that discovered me and gave me my chance, but they didn't follow through. They didn't know what to do with me. I was sexy, and that studio didn't have an experience except with Shelley Winters, but she still wasn't Mamie, So, I mean, I had a hard time, but then I had a 7-year contract, and I had been there 4 years, going on 5, and I felt like my career was just going nowhere. They did not give me the movies that I needed. I needed a movie written for me, but they never did that. Joe Bennett told me when they get a script and give it to them and tell them they got to do that. She was so great, Joe Bennett. She just loved me, and so but I met Ray Anthony, the famous band leader, and I started going with him, and I got pregnant. And then I thought I've got to get married, so we got married, and then I had Terry, my son, And I'm sure glad I had him. And then the studio came to the hospital when I had him and said, "You're no longer wanted in the studio. We're dropping your contract." And I go, "Yay!" I got out of the contract by having a baby. They said, "Starlets do not have babies," you know.
Let's go first to Evan and then back to Russ.
Out of all the projects you worked on and all the people you worked with, what are you proudest of?
Well, I think, of course, Clark Gable was the nicest and the greatest actor. And what, I mean, I was in the same arms with Jean Harlow, Joan Crawford, all of them. And I mean, and then, of course, I kissed him. And that scene was cut because it said I looked like a kidnapping, you know. And of course, in Europe, they kept it in, but in America, they didn't, you know. And that's when I was discovered, you know, they said that I had the possibilities of becoming a big superstar, and but it didn't really happen. I was never a superstar, you know.
Russ?
Yes. With all the incredible celebrities.
I did 40 movies. I did 40 movies.
Wow.
And I starred in a lot of them. And then there's others that I didn't. So, I mean, I've done both sides.
So, of all the amazing celebrities, the names that you worked with, do you ever find yourself in a situation when you were working with them that you said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm working with this person"? Was there a celebrity you worked with that you just couldn't believe that you were doing a movie or a show with?
Well, of course, when I first got to Universal with Tony, I was excited. And then, of course, the second movie, I went with Chef Chandler. I mean, you know, he's pretty hot. And, I mean, and then the guy that I started going with at the time was Steve Cochran. He was a sexy guy. He was a star at Warner Brothers, and he dated everybody. Every leading lady that he worked with, he went to bed with, he claimed. So he was pretty hot. I mean, Steve. And then I worked with, I guess this moment, and then, Russ Hamlin at MGM, at High School Confidential. And then I went to Warner Brothers and I starred in my movies. I was the one that starred. I was the top over the man. They didn't like that too much.
We have a lot of athletes on this show, and Russ may pop up with a question, but I came across a photo. It looked like you were grappling or beating up the Velvet Fog, Mel Torme. Can you tell us a little about that film?
Well, which one film was it?
I'm not sure, but it was either a film or a TV show where looked like you were putting a chokehold on Mel Torme. And, you know, we have UFC athletes and WWE wrestlers on.
That was Girls Town, yeah. Yeah, I worked with Mickey Rooney in 2 movies. I
Wow.
did 2 movies with Mickey Rooney. That was Adam and Eve, The Private Lives of Adam and Eve. And then I did a very serious movie at MGM called The Big Operator. And I starred Mickey Rooney. And that was a very big, important movie. And the man that was the head of MGM then, Ben Thaw, Louis B. Mayer died, and then I was working in Italy, and he was over there with making sure that Ben-Hur was going well. And then I met him, he and his wife, and then when I came back to America, he was the head of the MGM, and then he hired me for 3 movies over there. And so and then they wrote Girls Town for me. A long time before that, Mickey Rooney did a movie called Boys Town, and he did it in Omaha, where Boys Town is there. And so then I had MGM going for me, and then I got The Big Operator, a movie that was somebody, you know, they didn't think I could do that, and he said she can do anything she wants to. And so that was kind of really, really satisfying to me to know that Benny Thaw, who was the head of Metro, put me in all movies. He says you can do any part that you want to, maybe. You're a good actress.
Wow. Russ?
So, yeah, is there something that, you know, well, first of all, So you're almost 100. Are you at 100 right now?
No, no, no. She's like no. Let's not age her. She's like 96, going on
96.
97.
Okay.
That's the shoot or real part of it. You verbally sound, and the way you look. Like I looked at just a couple of years ago. You were at an Oscars Vanity Fair party, and you look like you're 25 years old, and you're sharp as a tack, maybe so. What do you attribute that to? Do you have a daily workout, or do you challenge yourself with like Brain HQ? What kinds of things do you do to keep yourself as sharp and gorgeous as you are?
That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it. I don't do anything. I just I get up every morning like everybody, but I take care of myself. But I don't do anything extra. I think it has a lot to do with your hereditary, and I'm mixture. I'm 3/4 Swedish, but half of that is indigenous. I come from the Finnish and the Viking side, and so I'm a little mixed up there, and that's very strong stock. And the parents, they lived to be 100, and it was like the grandparents and that. So I came from that kind of stock, and then the other quarter was English, German, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. And then of course, growing up in South Dakota, they migrated over there and homesteaded. And I learned how to really live in tough times. When the cyclones and tornado came through, we had nothing, and they didn't take a windmill out or take a house out. It was just the way it was, and you survive. You got to.
Oops. Uh-oh. Oh shoot. I think we lost them. Guys, let me call her right back. Oh no, that's not right.
This person is available.
Hi, this is Dr. Mike for Mamie. Please pick up. Hope we didn't lose them.
Thanks, Dr. Mike. Please stay on the line.
Hello.
There you go. Let me just ask you quickly, because I think you deserve your own documentary. I mean, your first hero in entertainment was Jean Harlow, of course, after you saw her in Platinum Blonde, which came out the year you were born, though. But one of mine was Ernie Kovacs, who HBO, and I participated a little bit as an Ernie Kovacs, sort of an expert historian. But Jane Mansfield's daughter, Mariska Hargitay, did a well-received docu on her. I think no one deserves a documentary more than you do. Would you consider that? Is there any plans in the works? Because some studios should be doing that, because I think people would be entertained and educated by what an incredible person you mean to this planet.
Well, that's very sweet of you. My documentary will be released this fall. In September, it will be shown at the Sundance Festival.
Wow.
And it's already finished. They're just doing the finishing touches up on it right now. I've been doing it for 18 months. So, and they had a showing, a private showing, and people absolutely loved it. They cried and they laughed, and it was fantastic. I had such great reviews, and great things are coming out of it, and I'm so happy to be able to share my life, what it was really like. And it's so funny how you brought that up, because it's been in the making. For 18 months I've been working on my documentary, and it'll be out, it's September 15th. They have to have it ready, and the music and everything is being tightened up. They had to cut out 15 minutes because there were 2 hours, and it was 15 minutes too long. So they're doing a little cutting, but everything is really good. They got about the Black Dahlia. They got everything in there. The Vietnam thing is so exciting and so strong and powerful that I wish I could have a movie done on that and somebody play me in it, because it tells a woman in Vietnam for 3 solid months going from one fire base to the other in a Huey, and it dangerous every second. It was over there. I was in combat area. Of course, everything was combat in Vietnam then, but I was there 2 trips, 68, 3 to 10 offensive, and then I was over there in 71. But 71, I stayed 3 solid months entertaining the grunts. Nobody remembered the grunts except me. I was over there entertaining them, and they absolutely would die for me. And I was probably the last woman they saw before they died. It was really bad.
Wow.
What can I say?
Well, we're talking to Mamie Van Doren, the book, and Ev, I'm going to pitch to you. You Thought I Was Dead, My Life of Celebrity, Sex, and Champagne. Another dedication you made is to the Vietnam vets, which we all support and salute you for. I was just spitballing, saying that a documentary. Had no idea this is happening, but you know what I could see is it's like opening music is Little Richard's "The Girl Can't Help It." I think people would roar, but it doesn't matter. Wherever that plays or whatever music you choose, Evan, I'm pitching to you.
Who would you like to?
Oh, go ahead.
Pardon me?
Oh, go ahead. Then Evan's going to ask you another couple questions.
Yeah.
But what were you just about to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mamie.
I was just going to say I did a song called "The Girl Who Invented Rock and Roll," and I did it for Clark Gable in Teacher's Pet. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't want to give away that part of the book.
I love doing that scene for him. It was really a cute scene. I think it was the best thing in the whole in the movie was that scene with Clark Gable doing that song. I may be impartial, but I really thought it was cute.
Yeah, because you said the girl that invented rock and roll, but rock and roll helped invent you, Ev.
If they ever did a biopic of you, which of today's actresses would you like to see play you?
I guess Margot. Margot, huh?
Margot Robbie.
Oh, yeah, Margot Robbie. Right, Barbie. Barbie, that would be perfect, Barbie.
Yeah.
Wow, great casting.
I think she'd be excellent. And then also there's Sydney Sweeney, is pretty sexy. And there's some, but they got to act. They got to have a good acting chops on them to be able to do my role, because I have so much excitement besides just being sexy. You got to have the ability to act. And I really think that Margot has it, and she's never done anything like this. If something like that could win her an Academy Award, I really believe that.
Wow, and brains. Margot Robbie's got that just like you have. Ev, that would be brilliant casting, Margot Robbie. Ev, do you got another question?
Sure. I read that you auditioned for Rodgers and Hammerstein. What was that like?
Auditions between what?
That you auditioned for Rodgers and Hammerstein, the famous playwrights, musician geniuses.
Oklahoma.
Wow.
I was up for that, but I didn't get that because a gal named Luella Harsons, who was a columnist in Hollywood, was very powerful, and she was going with my manager, Jimmy McHugh, who was a very famous songwriter, and she didn't want me to get ahead, so she asked me at MGM, and they got Gloria Graham, who took my video and copied it right down to the, I was so perfect for Ada Lanny. I've just been perfect for it, but it wasn't to be, and that's the way it happened.
There's a lot of heel heat on Luella Parsnips, we used to call her in the 60s. Not very popular with a lot of sets. Let me ask you, and then I'll see if Russ and Evan have any additional wrap-up questions. Did you come up with your own stage name? Because it sounds almost like royalty, the Van Doren part. Or how did that name, we don't want to give away too much. You can just say, oh, it's in the book or the prior book. But in the prior book you did about, I don't know what it was, 14 years ago, you weren't able to put in everything. This book, You Thought I Was Dead has all the stuff that they couldn't put in the book. So this is a must read that your fans and everybody should get. That how did the name come about, Mamie Van Doren?
The studio, Mamie Eisenhower was the first lady. So it was named for Mamie, and James Bacon, a famous United Press writer, named me actually Van Doren. He thought that was really good for me. And that's how I got the name Mamie and then the Van Doren.
Wow.
And I was sitting in the commissary at Universal one day, and he was going to do this story. And the PR department sent me a note, and it said, "Your name now is Mamie Van Doren." And I go, "What?" I go, "Oh, wow, you don't have a choice whether you like it or not." But I said, that doesn't really look like me. And so I figured I'm going to have to grow in that, or I'm going to have to make Mamie Van Doren as someone else. So that's what I managed to do. I created another person, and that's kind of, but I left Joni Olander in there all the time. I always had that little girl in there. So it was not easy.
Ev, Russ, do you guys have any final questions?
Yes, I do. So, Mamie, what do you think is the biggest difference between Hollywood today versus when you broke in to movies?
Well, there is a great difference. Studio had a system of training young people to be stars, and if you had it, they'd go for it. They don't have that now. The agencies really rule the movie industries. They're the ones that get the roles for the people that they handle, and if they have one, then they try to get the whole movie cast with their people, and that's kind of, the agencies are the stars today. And if you're liked and you hire good PR people and they like you, then you have a chance of making it. If you get one good movie, that doesn't mean you're going to be a star. At Universal, if you had failed in one movie, they always put you in another one, then you do well. But not now. I mean, if you fail, you don't get a second chance sometimes. Sometimes you do. But and on top of that, we had a problem with, having to go to bed with different men and, or women or whatever. But women didn't run the studios. There was no woman at the studio at that time that had any power at all. So we were all really run mainly by men. And that's at every studio. It wasn't just Universal. But, I managed to get through that, and I write about it in my book. When I was under contract with Howard Hughes and RKO, I did 5 movies, but I wasn't a star. I was only a kid. I was a real youngster. I wasn't even 18. I just got my driver's license, and I managed to work there long enough to buy a new car. And it was an MG right-hand drive. It was the first English car that came over after the war. So I was really quite popular in those days, and my name at that time was Joni Olander. And so I had no idea that somebody didn't like it and wanted to change it, because I said I'll never change my name. But Howard put me in the 5 movies. I got to learn the routine of movies, and I got to know the people, and it was very helpful to me. So when I got my chance, I knew how the whole thing operated. I wasn't walking on a stage not knowing. And then Howard, he had to go to bed with him, and I said, well, you have to read my book. I talk about Jean Harlow. She went with him for a while, and he put her in a couple movies, or one movie, and then MGM bought her. And but he did go with her, and in my book, I tell about it. I don't want to tell you about it now because you won't read the book. But he was kind of a real weirdo. I met him after he had that horrible airplane crash in Beverly Hills, and he had his beard then to cover up all his scars on his face and his body and the whole thing. So but it was the same as it was, it is now. But then they got the Me Too now. The women are fighting back, and they're letting know who these guys are doing it. I mean, men that have families and they don't want to be exposed. But I mean, I exposed a couple of them when I wrote my first book, Playing the Field. I told about that, so I mean, the grandchildren got a chance to read that. And then I also wrote about my rape with Jack Webb in this book, and I never did before.
Man, you went through a lot of stuff, so even more of a hero. Now, of course, the book by Mamie Van Doren, You Thought I Was Dead, My Life of Celebrity, Sex, and Champagne. Ev, do you have one final cue?
Where can we get the book?
Amazon, if you want.
I've seen it in Barnes and Noble. Also, let's have you plug anything and everything you'd like. If you have any causes, animal causes, any charities, any social media, go ahead, Mamie, and plug away.
I am really into animal. Oh my God, I love animals, and sometimes more than humans. I just love animals, especially dogs. Dogs are my favorite. They're better than humans. They're so fantastic. I mean, I do anything. Anything money I have, I give it all to dogs. Anything extra, I give to dogs. Any money I have left there, I give to dogs. Anything. I'm always online with the dogs, and I just lost my dog, and I'm devastated. But I've been doing so much with my book. I didn't want to leave to get another dog and then leave it because I had to go. I have to do things and go out of the house, and I don't want to leave my dog that I just got. I wanted it to be with me until he learned, learned me and really loved me. So I'm waiting until I'm through with what I have to do, and then I'm going to get one, and maybe I'll get one. I can't stand being without my dog. And before I had 5 dogs, and then each one of them passed, and then I got so discouraged. They only live a short time, and that's what devastates me. They're so used to it, and then when you're used to it, and they're a certain age, you want them to be forever, and then that's when they go. Yeah, I cry and I think in the middle of the night. I miss her. She always used to sleep next to me. It's really hard, but that's the way I feel about animals. All animals. My God, somebody has to speak up. When are they going to stop euthanizing these strong, healthy dogs and cats? When are they going to stop doing it? It's murder.
We got to put you together with Howard Stern's wife, Beth, who runs, I forget the animal shelter, the No Kill, that's global. That everybody talks about.
Linda Blair. Linda Blair's a big champion of animals as well.
That's right. Yeah, the horses and dogs too. Linda Blair. That's another one that we should put you in touch with. Do you tell people to just go adopt instead of buying designer dogs? Because I mean, Lily Mae was the German Shepherd, a regular dog.
Shelters and kill shelters, and I've got pictures of all of them. The dogs are sitting waiting to be for homes. I mean, when they get released, they just cry. They cry like babies. The tears come out of their eyes. They're so happy that they're adopted, and I mean, they're just like little babies, like little girls, little boys. And thank amen for Linda Blair. I mean, I'm so happy that somebody's doing it. I mean, it's always a woman. It seems like they have more compassion sometimes when it comes to animals and babies and things, because we're the ones that give life. We're the ones that carry them and make you happen. And I think that's why we're the way we are with animals. I mean, I can't eat an animal hardly anymore. I eat fish. That's about all I eat. I can't eat a cow. She came in and being on a farm and seeing how sweet these cows are. I could never eat a cow. No way. And pigs the same way. They're sweet. And chickens are just like kittens, I can't eat a chicken. In my book I talk about, raising them, and then all of a sudden I was missing one, and they were having it for a Sunday dinner. I couldn't eat, I mean, things like that really upset me. So I stick with just things that I can eat, without killing anything. And then when I do, I always say a prayer for every animal. that I eat.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
Well, you're our new hero, maybe. 'Cause I feel the same way. Lost my dog 2 years ago. Can't stop thinking about him. You are indeed a legend, but what a great human being you are too. As we saw today, the book. Yeah, demand your bookstore get it. Books Inc., etc. is carrying it. Mamie Van Doren. You Thought I Was Dead, My Life of Celebrity, Sex, and Champagne, her documentary. Do you have a title for the documentary upcoming? What's the title of it that's going to be at Sundance, which is...
I want to tell you, the guy that wrote the name of my book was my agent, Alan Nevins. He's the one that thought of it, and I thought, oh, no, I don't know whether I like that or not. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, that's terrific, because a lot of people probably thought I was dead. I said, as long as I don't die before the book is out. Oh, that's a sense of humor. The name of my documentary, I think they just named it. What was the name of it? You could tell me?
The last bomb.
Yeah, the last bomb show or something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, many more decades of life to you guys both. Hope to keep in touch with you, and we're going to be plugging that docu when it comes out because it was Robert Redford's baby. So, man, what a great story. I can't recommend the book highly enough. Everybody go out and support it. Mamie Van Doren's book, You Thought I Was Dead, My Life of Celebrity, Sex, and Champagne. Thank you both, Mamie and Thomas. We really appreciate you going a little bit overboard today, time-wise. And
it's my pleasure. It's truly my pleasure.
well, we love you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you both
so much.
But yeah, we're going to keep the show going for a couple minutes here. Evan has something he wanted to talk to us about, so lay it on.
Since we're on the theme of movies, I just wanted to give my highest recommendation to the film Power Ballad, which just came out, and it's from the same team that did Once, which is one of my favorite movies. And if you love music, both these films, Once and Power Ballad, from the heart, Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas from the Jonas Brothers. And
Wow.
it's just, the music's great, and you get so emotionally invested in the story because I don't want to give away too much, but one of them's really struggling. He's playing in a wedding band, and so it's like you have this small-time musician and this big-time arena pop star, and somehow they collide in this movie. And it's a lot about life and family and priorities and creating, and just a beautiful film. It's the best film I've seen in a theater the entire year.
No aliens. No aliens or giant fight scenes.
Well, there actually is one or two fight scenes, but it's not absurd. It all rings true. And I really recommend it. And one of the questions I just asked Mamie, I was watching another wonderful film last night called Blue Moon, and it's the story of Lorenz Hart from Rogers and Hart. So Hart is in his late 40s, terrible alcoholic, and he's about to die, literally about to die. And meanwhile, he's seeing the success of Rogers and Hammerstein, his successor. That's why I asked Mamie that question about auditioning for Rogers and Hammerstein, because I was just watching this film. Richard Linklater, one of my favorite directors.
Oh, yeah.
2025 film. It almost feels like a play because it's all done pretty much in the same bar, 95% of the movie. And Ethan Hawke plays Lorenz Hart, and it's tremendous, just tremendous. And if you like films in general, I love films. Check out my book, Grindhouse, Art House, and Wrestling Flicks. And we do a deep dive into films of all genres, and that's available on Amazon. But I'll tell you, I was very, very impressed with Mamie Van Doren because back in the day, it's like they're playing a character, like a stereotypical blonde bombshell, and you talk to the woman. She's sharp, she's sensitive, she loves animals. You know, it's like, you know, I'm glad we've gotten past these stereotypes in Hollywood to some degree, because you know, she was literally crying about her tours
Several
of
times. She cried
her
several
tour-
times during the show, you know, not just the dog.
her tours of Vietnam, and you know, this is a, you know, a complex, you know, sensitive human being, and you know,
I mean,
yeah.
she was raped, and then it was like expected she had to sleep with these directors from Howard Hughes or producers on. Horrific.
Yeah, well, Marilyn Monroe, and yeah, it's been documented. It's not a, yeah, it's horrible. And
I
I'm
mean, she
sure
said something about Me Too. I was going to say, wow, you could make a killing, but it wasn't appropriate to say that. But she would definitely have enough people that she could go after.
cast and couch still exists to some degree.
Yeah, when you were hearing what was even going on in wrestling, like during the pandemic when Me Too came about, we were hearing all kinds of horror stories.
Mike had to sleep with Russ to get this gig. Yeah. I shouldn't make a joke, but
That's okay.
All right. Well, we have a huge guest coming up next week. We're not going to spoil it, but we just want to let everyone know that's a name you've all heard of. So you'll be.
It might be one of our biggest non-Hollywood actor guests. I mean, I brought Stephanie Powers, now Mamie, who is a personal favorite. I know Evan and I mean, I would always see these photos of her in Playboy and read about her and all this stuff, but try to find out more about the person. So I read her first book. I really only read the first chapter of chapter and a half of this one.
But our next guest,
our next guest is going to be huge. I want to recommend one book. I want to recommend a book by TNA's ring announcer, Mackenzie Mitchell, Threads of Triumph. It's unlike any book I've seen. I sent her some photos, but it's of wrestling fashion and what goes into it and what they're doing now today. Randy Savage, in one of the greatest pictures I've never seen before, is on the cover. And, you know, she focuses on The Rock and Taker, Shawn Michaels, Flair, of course, Charlotte Flair, Rey Mysterio, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, a lot of stars from all the companies. So that's a good new book out from a wrestling level. But boy, I thought Mamie was, I was very impressed, very sharp. You know, I've seen all kinds of age ranges from 100, you know, they were touting the book, and in the press release for the book, I went back and looked at it. Oh, she's 100 years old or 100 years young. Well, whatever. I think she said legit, shoot, she's 97, but
and I was
sharp.
I was tempted to say this, but I didn't want to go there. But she has the same birthday as my mother, February 6th.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just would have got emotional.
All I know is that when I'm her age, I'll be dead already for about 15 years. So I'm pretty impressed.
Let me say something about that. I spend a lot of time practicing Tai Chi, and I have breakfast almost daily with an 84-year-old Chinese traditional herbalist and doctor, and he's a Tai Chi player, and we got guys out there 92, 93 years old in 90-degree heat doing yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong, and some of them are ageless, sharp as could be. Two of the teachers are 87 and 88. So it is a choice. It's a choice to do healthy things.
Or you get on the freeway at the wrong period of time here in California, and you won't make it an hour past, you know, when you get on the freeway. So
okay,
it does.
But
all the Tai Chi in the world won't save you from crazy drivers out here. So,
but I'm just saying, you know, I'm with these people, and they're doing, you know, exercise. They're throwing kicks and punches. They're in their 80s and 90s, and then you see, you know, as we're doing it, there's some 400-pound guy, you know, eating like some disgusting meal and smoking a cigarette. It's a choice. You know, we do this in a park.
Trump is about to be 80, and he doesn't do anything more than swing golf clubs. So, sometimes the good do die young. Anyway, guys, we'll see you all
On that happy note.
On that note, I think you guys go and look, if you want to crack up, just go and look at the first couple of minutes of her film High School Confidential with Russ Tamblyn, whose daughter is Amber, who's married to comic legend great David Cross. And Amber is a decorated
I am a
actor
big
herself.
fan of David Cross. I am a big
fan.
Oh,
yeah. Well, of course.
Tamblyn's
Mr.
alive
Show.
in 91.
And he put out a book that I jumped at right when it came out, but a total legend. He was in a ton of MGM films, dancing, singing, but he plays a punk in this who tries to sleep with his teacher. You have to, and Mamie was in it. It's an insane movie. It's so funny. It's like one of those UPI, International Pictures, those crazy directors with a shoestring budget.
In my book, I have a piece on meeting the cast of West Side Story. They did a screening right after 9/11 in New York. It was right when they were starting to reopen things. And at Radio City Music Hall, and they screened West Side Story with incredible security because we were still worried about another attack. And it was a very emotional night because it was like we had been let out of prison. And Russ Tamblyn and George Chakiris and the surviving Rita Moreno, the surviving members of West Side Story, were all there.
Wow!
And I was getting autographs from everybody. And
Tamblyn was one of my favorites. I forget the name of it was George Powell put out Tom Thumb. He was the lead actor in that. What an incredible actor and resume. This guy is unbelievable. And obviously, Rita Moreno, total legend. We lost Cheetah. All those folks. George Chakiris. Yeah. Boy, that was a night, Evan. We'll have to have you talk about that at length on another show.
Yep.
I want to hear
We're
that
almost
story.
done with today's show. So let's wrap it on up. We're going to see everyone. We'll all get together in just a few days for the next big show, which will air on Sunday, but looking forward to doing it on the 10th. So
that'll be fire, and it'll be bombastic. And if we don't get our best ratings for that show, it's going to be that big. So you won't want to miss our next show.
It's going to be so good. I'm going to get up before 9:30 in the morning to record it. That tells you folks on the other side how dedicated I am.
Well, we dragged Russ away from a party, so let's wrap up the show and let Russ get back to his party.
Well, no, I'm done, but I'll be watching the NBA Finals.
Thank you, Russ. Yeah, yeah. Go Knicks. I'm so happy.
The NBA Finals are tomorrow, not today.
Yeah, I wish it was a more competitive. They've already clinched 2 games away, which is completely difficult. But, the Knicks deserve it so much. All these years you guys have been, sort of unhappy.
53 years.
So I'm very excited to see. I love seeing teams that deserve it finally get it, and what a way they're doing it.
Well, they still got to win. They still got to win 2 more games.
It's gonna be an effing sweep. Come on.
And Mike, the courtside seats are selling for $125,000.
Well, and they're worth it.
The nosebleeds are $10,000.
Unbelievable, guys.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. See you on the 10th. Good night.